Happy Wednesday, everyone. My name is Gretchen. I'll be guiding you through your restorative class today. So we'll begin in about a minute or so. In the meantime, make sure you have all of your props. I have a blanket, 2 blocks, and a pillow or a bolster if you have one. So make sure you gather that. As always, you can use even leveled books for your blocks. You can also use a bed pillow for your bolster, and any blanket will do. Just one large enough that you'll be able to fold up. So so you could get like a fairly nice shape. If you were to roll it, it would be about yay round. So yeah, so we'll get, actually it's noon, so we'll just hop right on and get started. This is my kitty Priscilla. She is hanging out with us this afternoon. Hello, friend. Okay, so let's just take a moment to find a comfortable seat. You could also lie down if you'd like, eyes opened, eyes closed. And we'll just begin to breathe. And today with breath work, I don't want to focus too much on a controlled inhale or a controlled exhale. I just want you to allow the breath to enter your body and exit your body as naturally as possible. When you're breathing in, just a reminder to yourself, I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out. I know I'm breathing out. If your breath feels short and shallow, allow it to be short and shallow. And if your breath is long and deep, allow it to be long and deep. And if it falls somewhere in between those two extremes, allow it to be just as it is. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. We'll stay here for just a few more moments. And when you're ready to move, begin to just wiggle fingertips and toe tips. Maybe take a full breath in through the nose. A longer, slower exhale. And when you feel ready, open your eyes if they're closed. And we'll begin to move right into our first pose. So our first pose is lateral flexion. It gets into the side bodies, and it's called banana asana. It's always a pose that makes me giggle by the name. Excuse me. So we won't need any props for this shape. You're welcome to use one blanket if you need to place it underneath your neck. Where your neck and the floor meet, you can fill that space by just rolling your blanket, placing it where your head would be. And then once you come into the shape, we'll lay down, on your back, and then take your feet to the bottom right corner of the mat. You want to keep your hips flush to the floor, and then your upper body moving towards the right side as well. So you're forming this crescent moon or banana shape. And we'll be here for about 5 or so minutes. Arms can be up overhead if they feel better, down by your sides. You can also cross your left ankle over your right. That'll get into your side or your IT band a little bit. So through class, I always try to keep it, when we're in the studio, try to keep it quieter so your mind has a chance to relax and that you can connect with yourself If your mind starts to wander, just come back to your gentle, easy breath, breathing in. I know I'm breathing in, and breathing out. I know I'm breathing out. Try to remain as still as possible. Letting the body fall into a deep state of relaxation. If at any time you need to change position. I don't want it to be bothersome to you during class. If you feel uncomfortable and you want to change, you absolutely have that opportunity anytime. Try to relax your muscles. Relax your face and jaw. If you're feeling discomfort through the body when you're stretching, try to take your breath to any spaces of discomfort. This pose helps to, it's called lateral flexion of the spine. So you're taking your spine and bending to one side, creating a compressed state on one side and opening on the other. So the left side here is opening. So as you're lying in the pose, see if you can take your breath to the rib cage, to the side ribs. From the hip to the ribs, see if you can create an expansion, a space, an energetic expansion. So without really moving or stretching deeper. We have 2 more rounds of breath. 1 more. And when you feel ready to move, start by uncrossing your ankles. Begin to work your body back to neutral. So slide your feet to center, your torso to center. And then take a moment to just hug knees into the heart space. Maybe find some side-to-side movement, some circles. And then when you're ready, you slowly release your legs back down to the floor. And we'll move to the left side. Slide your feet and legs to the bottom left corner of your mat. You're welcome to cross your right ankle over your left. Upper body moves towards the left side of your mat. Arms can be up overhead, or they can be down on your sides. I have mine resting on my belly. See if you can work that energetic opening from the rib cage through the hips. So finding space at the base of the ribs and the top of the hip point. Creating an opening through the side body, through the right side body. Coming back to your breath, your natural, easy breath. No control, just awareness of breathing in and awareness of breathing out. Notice if you're holding onto tension in any particular parts of your body. If you're clenching your jaw, see if you can soften a bit. If you're wrinkling your forehead or shrugging up your shoulders, see if you can let everything loosen and fall a little bit deeper into the mat. Notice if you're clenching and making fists in your hands. See if you can release your fingertips from your palms. We have 2 more rounds of breath. When you're ready to unwind, uncross your ankles. Begin to find your way back to a neutral position, feet towards the center of your mat, upper body towards the center of your mat. And then if you'd like, once more, hug your knees into your heart space. Find side body movement or some stirring of the pot. And then when you're ready, you'll roll over to one side, taking a moment, and then gently pressing yourself up to a seated pose. And then once you come into your seated pose, just take a moment. My side bodies feel pretty tight today. So if you want to do a little stretching or twisting, take some movements. And then you'll move your blanket out of the way. You can keep it close by. And then the next prop that we'll grab is either a pillow or a bolster. We'll be coming into a little more side opening. Actually, we're going to come into Mountain Brook pose. And so with Mountain Brook pose, you'll grab your blanket and your bolster, pardon me, and we'll place the bolster down by where the knee creases would hit. Now grab your blanket, and mine is already pretty much folded up, so I'm going to unfold it so it looks like a fairly large rectangle. And then I'm going to roll it. I'm going to roll it into a ball as if I were rolling up a sleeping bag, not into a ball, into a log. And I'm going to take that, and this is going to go right underneath my armpit, so it's going to go across my back for a very gentle back bend. Now, I have these two set up. I'm probably going to take a few moments to just make some adjustments. So the first thing I'm going to do is work on the upper half of my body. I'm going to lie down, and when I lie down, my underarms, right, are going to land right about, so if I make a goal post with my hands, that's where my blanket is going to land, my log. So I'm getting a little bit of a back bend. And then I'm going to take my bolster, I'm going to bring it up just slightly so my knee creases and upper thighs land on top of it. We'll be in this pose for 5 minutes. So once you have your arms situated, you'll let your head fall back. Just make sure that you feel comfortable. Make any slight adjustments that you need. Arms can come out wide. And then you'll start to open up the front side of the body. So just start to find your breath, focusing or being aware of this front side right here. This is a nice pose to come after Banana Asana. Banana Asana is a really nice opener, yes, for the side bodies, but it's also a nice little opener for a gentle supported back bend. Remember to come back to your breath if your mind starts to get too out of control with the thoughts. Remember, breathing in, I'm breathing in, breathing out. I know I'm breathing out, just with that relaxed, natural breath. So remember, not forcing any in particular guided breath today. It's just natural, slow, and easy. Letting yourself be and land exactly as you are. Giving yourself the time and the silence to just notice where you are at, whether that's in your headspace or your body, your physical presence, your emotional space or mental. Just bringing awareness to everything that you might be feeling, and then breathing it away as you exhale. This is a gentle heart opener. And when you are opening your heart, when your heart chakra, anahata, is balanced, you feel compassionate and joy and love. So allow your heart space to open during these final moments of the pose. Breathing in love. Breathing out judgment. One more breath. Breathe in love. Release judgment. When you're ready to move, begin by just wiggling your fingers and your toes. Stretch your arms up overhead. And exhale, soften. When you're ready to roll to one side, roll over to one side. Rest your head on your arm. And then slowly begin to press yourself up to a seated pose. I forgot how much I love that pose. I haven't done it in a while. And it's always just pretty joyous. Okay. So we're going to start opening up the hips a little bit. And what I have planned is it's so fun to take poses that we do in a vinyasa class, in my opinion, and bring them onto the floor, making yoga really truly accessible for everyone. And so the next 3 poses we're going to do, you see oftentimes in a vinyasa class, we'll be working our way through vrikshasana, tree pose. We'll also be working our way through warrior 2 and triangles. Super fun ways to access those poses, even if maybe say knees hurt or you're not able to do those shapes. So I am going to keep my rolled blanket, and I just like that for the space between my neck and the floor. And then I am going to grab a bolster. And so what we're going to do once we come into tree pose, I'm going to bring my bolster onto the right side of my mat. I'm going to lay down. And then just grab your blanket if you have it, if you like the support for your head and your neck. And then I'm just going to slowly move my bolster out at an angle. Now you can absolutely use this with a blanket as well. So my right foot is at my inner thigh. It can be at the knee because we're not pressing onto it when we're lying down. But if you can go up a little higher, do. If you need to go lower, that's always on the table. And then your right knee will just fall open. And you want to make sure that you're not just letting it flop without any support. And why? It's not about supporting your knee, but really what it's about is supporting your hip socket. You don't want to just let your joints just kind of fall and relax and your bones kind of just holding, like letting the joint hold on to your bones. And so you definitely want to have some support, whether it's a small pillow or a blanket. I set the timer for 3 minutes. Your hands can be at heart space and belly space. You can bring both hands to the belly or by your sides. The choice is yours, even if you want to grow some branches. So allow that to shine through in your tree pose. We have just a few more moments in this pose on this side. Take 2 more rounds of breath. Last one. And when you're ready, gently bring your right knee towards the ceiling. Bring your left knee towards the ceiling. And again, give yourself a little squeeze, a little hug. If there's another movement that you'd like to take, go ahead and take it. And then we'll switch our sides. Go ahead and grab your pillow or your blanket. Move it to the left side of your mat. Right leg extends long. Left foot comes in towards the inner thigh as your left knee falls open. And again, we'll be here for just 3 minutes. Focus in on the breath. Notice any changes that are happening right side to left side. I think it's really important to know if one side is significantly tighter than the other, whether that's your dominant side or if you're favoring an injury. It can be really insightful to pay attention to the tightness and what's happening in the body to give you the information that you need about what's going on. Maybe what you need to work through or you're working on, or where you need to soften a little bit more. What I love about tree pose and what's coming up for me while I lay here is how trees and trunks are so strong, but yet they sway and they move in the wind. And I'm coming right now to our climate where we're very strong, I think, in our stances and in our opinions about what is happening, what's going on. And I think it's important to remember that we can have our opinions and feel strongly rooted in our morals and in our values. But it's also important to sway a little bit, to be flexible and to listen without judgment or hatred. We're all entitled to stand strong in our morals and values. And I think it's important that we not forget that everyone has that entitlement, but that we listen and that we're open. And we allow ourselves to be moved. We have 2 more rounds of breath. When you're ready to move, gently bring your left knee towards the ceiling. Bend your right leg, right knee towards the ceiling, and then give yourself a moment to move freely. And when you're ready, roll over to your side and press yourself up to seated pose. Okay, so we're going to move into first warrior 2, and then we'll come up to a seated position. It's always nice to just find a neutralization, and then we'll come back down and we'll visit triangle pose. So we don't need a wall for this. You can use a wall if you have one nearby. And Yes, I do. And here, but we do need a block. And so if you don't have a block, get a nice thick book or a couple stacked books. Now I'm going to bring my block horizontal down by my right foot. Now once I come into this pose, it's going to take some adjusting. So I'm going to bend my right knee like I was coming into a warrior two stance. So my right toes are pointing out towards the right. And I'm going to lay down. So I'm not going to be in this big, deep, grandiose warrior two, but we're getting our body into this shape. Now, once I have my ankle and my foot resting on my block with my knee bent, I'm going to take my left leg and extend it out. I don't want it straight down. I do want it at an angle. So now I have my ankle and my foot pointing towards the right at a bend. If you have a sandbag or a meditation cushion, putting it over your left hip crease is really delightful. Now I'm going to take my gaze over my right arm. My hands pointed palms up or palms down. You choose. I think that's important to choose whether or not you want to feel grounded. For me, rotating my arms and palms up towards the ceiling feels better. Choose what makes sense in your body. And then we'll just be here for 3 minutes. All right. There we go. If this doesn't feel awesome on your neck to look over your arm, I'm a big proponent of keeping the chin lined up with the heart space. So for me today, I want to look straight up at the ceiling with my eyes heavy. But if it makes sense for you to look right, please do. Left toes are pointing towards the ceiling. Right toes are pointing towards the right side of the room. Try to find some softening through the legs. Notice if you're holding on to tension. This is this is a pose I think that can encourage some tightness and not letting go. So see if you can soften your glutes a little bit. Notice if you're holding on to any tension there. We have just 2 more rounds of breath. Alrighty, so we're going to come off of our block by gently just bending the right knee, planting the foot on the floor, bringing the hip up. And then you can bring your left leg and bend it, bring your knee towards the ceiling. Let your knees just collapse in for a moment. Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and switch our sides. So go ahead and grab your block and bring it over towards the left side of your mat. Once you have your block on the left side, go ahead and bend your left knee. Lie down. Once you lie down, take your right leg out at an angle. toes pointing up towards the ceiling. So once you have your legs situated, arms out to a T, and again, choose your gaze. I'm going to have you add on this time around. And what I want you to do is just take your shoulder blades and gently roll them in towards each other. So just lift up, squeeze the blades in just gently, and then lie back down. And we'll be here again for just 3 minutes. Notice if you're holding on to tension within the glutes. See if you can soften them. Again, gaze can be over your left arm. It can also be point at the ceiling. Lengthen your neck. We have 2 more rounds of breath. When you feel ready to move off of your block, gently bring your left foot down onto the floor, left knee towards the ceiling, right knee towards the ceiling. You can take a moment in constructive rest. Any little movements that you'd like to take. And then roll over to your side and slowly press yourself up to a seated pose. Just taking a moment to find a nice neutral upright position. Alrighty. So the next pose that we're going to come into is very similar. It's triangle pose, but we'll get into a little bit of that side bend, and we'll take the bend out of the front leg. You do need a block. So I'm going to take my block again towards the bottom right corner of my mat. And then once I'm situated, I'm going to take my right leg onto my block. Again, my toes are going to be pointing out towards the right. I'm going to take my left leg and extend it so I have this nice V shape with my inner thighs. I'll lie down. Bring your arms out to a T. And now once you have your arms out to a T, just like in triangle pose, we're going to take the right arm down towards the right foot. So now if you were standing, you would be reaching down towards the foot, maybe resting on your shin or a block. And your left arm would be towards the ceiling. So we're going to find that nice length between fingertips and fingertips as we
bring some compression into the right side body. And again, we'll just hold this pose for 3 minutes. Left toes pointing skyward, right toes pointing towards the right side of the room, arms elongated, shoulder blades gently drawing in towards each other, soft through the body. So we don't want to be tense or holding on. We don't want a deep muscular engagement right now because we're safely stretching here on the floor. Now, if we were standing upright, we'd want to be engaged so we weren't allowing the body to sink into the joints. So none of that is happening, especially in the hips. Again, notice if you're holding on to the glutes. Every once in a while, I find myself starting to engage. So see if you can soften, or notice if you're holding on. Two more rounds of breath. Alrighty, when you're ready to move, slowly bring your torso back to neutral. I bent my elbows, using my elbows to shift my upper body. Take your right heel off the mat, left knee towards the ceiling, or right knee towards the ceiling, then left. Any little movements that you'd like to take. And then we'll switch the sides. So go ahead and take your block to the left side of your mat. Go ahead and take your left foot on the block, pointing towards the left side of the room. Left leg is straight. Right leg is at an angle, toes pointing towards the ceiling. And then you'll scooch your torso over towards the left. And then reaching your left arm down towards your left foot, your right arm up overhead. We'll start 3 minutes. So this is taking the banana asana pose that you did at the beginning of the class and just bringing a little more intensity to the side body opening. You're also just opening up through the hips slightly, especially the left leg with the toes pointing towards the left side of the room. That's inviting in this external rotation. If my right toes were pointing down towards the floor, we would be bringing in an internal rotation. But today I just want you to point towards the ceiling, keeping it at a nice neutral position. See if you can soften through the glutes. If your body is tensing, like for me, that tells me I need to back out a little bit. So if your body is holding on, it might be holding on because you're experiencing some discomfort or some pain. So make any adjustments for your body as you need. Come back to natural, easy breathing. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. If you have sandbags at home, and I didn't mention this earlier, these are some fun poses that you can work with sandbags on the shoulders and on the hips as this becomes a little easier for your body. Take 2 more rounds of breath. Alrighty. When you're ready to move, start off first with your torso. Just bring it gently back to center. Once your torso is back to center, slide your left heel off of your block, knee to the ceiling, right knee to the ceiling. Give your knees a little hug into the heart. And then when you're ready, slowly roll to one side as you press yourself up to a seated pose. I've gotten further and further off of my mat as class has gone on. Okay, so this next pose that we're going to come into, I've never taught before. And it's a restorative frog, and I think automatically, at least for me, it's like when a cat sees something scary and its back shoots up and its tail puffs. That's how I feel about frog pose. I'm like, oh, my hips don't love it. But this restorative frog is a little different, and you can really work on it as your body needs. And you'll see that my hips are tight. I talk about that a lot. And so I'm not going into this big grandiose shape. So grab your pillow or your bolster, and you're going to put it down by where your legs would be. Now I'm going to grab my blanket once more, and I have it in this rectangle. I'm just going to take the rectangle and fold it in half. So like a hot dog bun. Sorry, vegans. It was just the first thing that came to mind. Okay, so, and vegetarians. I'm just going to lay this down. This is where my hip points are going to land. I just want some extra cush. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lie down on my belly. Now once I come onto my belly, so you know that full frog, legs are both out like this, and you're kind of upright. So this is a little different, as in my knees are going to be pointing towards the sides of the rooms. And as much as I can bring my feet together and down on the bolster is where you'll be. I can't get my feet together. Or I could get my feet together, but this is about as high as I'm going. I'm not coming down to a bolster. So I'm going to separate my feet quite a bit. I probably have about 1.5 feet between my feet. And I'm just going to bring it in and I'm going to rest down. So we won't be here super long. We'll be here for about 3 minutes. If you love this and you want to stay longer, you know, this goes for all of the poses. You can always do that.
But so you can feel this external rotation
in the hips.
And so you can play around and adjust. You can go a little wider, you can go a little closer. Just tap into how you're feeling
And the tightness of your hips.
For me, this is one of those poses that I have to bring in more breath. I like a deeper inhale and a deeper exhale because I'm uncomfortable. I'm not experiencing pain. I won't allow my body to experience pain when I'm doing yoga because it's just not safe, and neither should you. So if you need to breathe a little deeper because you're uncomfortable, that is perfectly acceptable.
Anything to get you through those 3 minutes.
If you're feeling like this isn't your favorite shape. Take 2 more rounds of breath. And when you finish out your breath, once you're ready, I like to take my toes, curl them under, and then bring my knees back in. And then slowly just press yourself up to a seated pose. And just take a moment right here. Somehow time is just escaping me and I can just keep on going, pose after pose. I don't have time for a twist. If you do at home, if you have the time to take in a nice long twist, about 3 to 5 minutes on each side, that would be my encouragement. Today we're just going to take a little seated twist just so we can counter where we were just at. So go ahead and reach your arms up. And exhale, twist over to the right. And inhale, come back up to center. And twist over to the left. Let's do that again. Inhale, arms up. The movement feels nice. Exhale, over to the right. Inhale up to center. And twist over to the left. Let's do this one more time, but this time we'll hold it for just a couple of breaths. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, twist to the right. Let your right hand come back behind you. Spine elongated, ribs drawing down slightly. Take your twist. One more breath. And change. Inhale, reach up to center. And exhale, twist over to the left for 3 breaths. And change. Inhale, up to center. Draw your hands through heart space. Let's take our Savasana. So when you're ready, go ahead and lie down. Encouragement for legs up the wall, putting a bolster underneath the creases of your knees. Anything that can help you find your deep, relaxed state. I will call you out in just a few minutes.
Begin to bring deeper breath and awareness to your space. Begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. If a full body stretch calls, reach your arms up overhead. Lengthen your whole body from fingers to toes. And exhale, soften towards the floor. Roll to your side. Rest your head on your arm. And slowly begin to press yourself up to a seated pose. Draw hands to heart space in Anjali Mudra. Thank you so much for allowing me to guide you through your practice this afternoon. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti Om. May there be peace, peace, peace. I bow to you all. Namaste.